Hello everybody, welcome to the WWE Talk It featuring yours truly, The Punisher. So to get things rolling here, let's just start off by saying we just experienced WrestleMania this past Sunday, and I just want to say it was an alright show. Some things could have been better, some things were just fine, but the one thing that bothered me the most was the fact that The Undertaker faced his very first loss in 22 matches total he's been in, and my only concern is the fact that it looks like this may be a sign of him retiring now because he's done everything else in the company and everything. I mean, I was sad to see it ending. I thought he would have retired with the streak, but that's just my opinion and everything. But for Brock Lesnar to have the one to beat The Undertaker, I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, I don't like it. I don't think it should have been Brock, but whatever. So, anyway, to get a little bit onto Raw here, so the Raw after Mania, which we all saw Daniel Bryan celebrate with his 2 championships, but of course Triple H had to go out and ruin the whole thing by saying, you're going to face me for the championship tonight, so this will be your first night defending it. Seriously, Hunter, how much more persistent do you want to be in this whole thing? It's like, leave Daniel Bryan alone, let him do what he needs to do with the title run. Get off his case already, would you? Just leave the guy alone. Let him do what he needs to do. So, but overall, I'm really glad they gave Bryan the championship that he's deserved for a very long time now. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, after Cesaro won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, he went on to saying he's no longer with Zed Coulter, as he completely dropped Coulter and say he's now a Paul Heyman guy. I'm interested to see where this whole thing goes. I mean, Paul Heyman's supposed to be, I guess, tweener or heel, whatever you want to call him, but I'm hoping that just because they gave him to Cesaro, that doesn't turn Cesaro into a bad guy. Cesaro needs to be pushed as a big face because of this big swing he does. Every time he does it, he gets over more and more and more. Keep it going. He's doing a great job. Let him be the way he needs to be. So, enough talk about that. Here's a little bit about Diva Talk, which, not much to say about it this week though, other than the fact that AJ came out and said she's been the champion for 295 days already, almost close to a year, but this time Paige from NXT made her debut this week on Raw, and she was the first one to take AJ out and take the Divas Championship away from her, ending her 295 title reign as champion. That's pretty interesting for a girl who just started on their first night, but they had Gail Kim start her first night and she won the women's championship, so it happens like that sometimes, so just hope they do something good with Paige though. So, and then at the end of Raw, we saw that Stephanie was trying to group up Kane, The Shield, and Batista and Orton to make sure Bryan was taken down big time so Triple H can take the belt away from him. But thankfully, with the Shield in hand, they distracted Triple H, they attacked him, Kane, and Orton, and Batista, and then it ended with Bryan giving Triple H the kick right in the face and ended the whole thing. Great ending, I like that. So this is setting up for an 8-man tag match at Extreme Rules, so just gotta see where everything comes around. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight's show, and let's get some people's thoughts about what they felt about WrestleMania 30.
I thought the network worked perfectly. There was only a few glitches. That was during the pre-show. During the Hall of Fame induction pre-show, we also had some glitches that got fixed. So I think the network worked really, really well. We didn't have as many issues. I remember the days of cable companies and calling them up and ordering it and it not working and calling them back and getting it fixed and then it dies again. So the network worked. So thumbs up to that. Pre-show tag title match was really good. I'm glad they broke up the Americans finally. I'm glad that led to Cesaro swinging swagger and then totally being done and walking out. I really liked the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I thought Cesaro being like the dark horse candidate and coming all the way down to the Big Show and finally getting the Big Show out was great. I thought Kofi's spot was awesome. I really liked some of the stuff they did there. They just make some schmaz that it started out to be, but once it got people eliminated, it was really good. Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. I really thought Bray needed to win here and he needed to be solidified as a really top contender. I don't think John Cena needed another victory under his belt again. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. now that Bray defeated Cena, so I wonder what they're going to go with this. It's probably going to be a slew of rematches, which doesn't make sense, but we'll see where they go with that. Shield versus Outlaws and Kane, I thought was a good match. I thought it was a little too short for my liking. I wanted some more Seth Rollins, I wanted more Ambrose, and of course I wanted more Roman in the match. But them just running through them, it was good for what it was worth, just a squash match. Undertaker vs. Brock Lesnar, when the pinfall happened, it seemed like time stood still. Everywhere, everyone in the arena, everyone where I was watching it, nobody talked, nobody moved, everybody just seemed shocked that the pinfall happened. And in my head, I kept thinking that it didn't just happen. I didn't just see the pinfall. I didn't hear a 3 count because the music didn't start, nothing really happened, the announcer didn't jump in. It seemed like minutes turned into hours before they actually announced Lesnar won. I didn't want to believe it. And I still don't want to believe it. I still don't understand it, so we'll see what they do tonight. Rewatching the match, it looked like Undertaker was really hurt during the match, so I'm wondering if that means he's done and that was his choice to go out with a loss. Divas titles match was good. I like that they did a few things. It was very hard for them to follow the Taker match because the whole crowd was pretty much very upset at that point, rightfully so. Reports on Twitter were that people started walking out after the Taker match, after he lost. I was glad AJ still won, and hopefully she's happy with the Vicky Guerrero statue that she had to carry out after the match, with the go-go boots and all. Bryan winning the title was great. I thought Triple H interjecting himself was good. I thought that Hunter would insert himself as a ref at one point when he came in with the coat on. Them doing the Batista bomb into the RKO was really cool. I hope Randy's okay, because when he landed on his back, there was a monitor under him, so it looked like that really hurt. And they finally gave us the victory we wanted. Daniel Bryan winning the world title, but I think it was overshadowed with Taker's loss, because I know I was still pretty upset about that. And when Bryan finally got the belt, that was just... I think 2 things that would have changed. Taker and Bray. And the only things that would have changed. I really liked the beginning with Hogan, Austin, Rock. I liked a lot of the backstage stuff. I liked a lot of the matches. I liked the match order they did. I liked the stuff that happened in the matches. I think those 2 finishes I would have changed. Everything else I would have kept.
I'm glad it actually worked out on the network. I was a little apprehensive. I even told everybody that came to my house, bring $5 just in case if I have to order it on pay-per-view. Minor audio issue at the beginning. It sounded like a jack wasn't plugged in or something like that, but overall there were no issues during the feed, and I'm just glad it worked out. I'm sure there was a big sigh of relief at WWE about that too. So I'm glad that it worked out, and I'm glad we get to watch pay-per-views on this thing. It's a hell of a deal, and it's greatest deal out there. It's just incredible, and if you don't have the network yet, you're missing out. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Taker fan, and I'm going to speak on that in a minute, but WrestleMania was awesome. I mean, top to bottom. It was a great show. I mean, pretty much anything that you would want out of a WrestleMania happened. Starting with Hogan, Austin, and Rock, and that was just an incredible segment, and it was a great way to start it, and there was no bad match. I mean, honestly, I was a little bit bored with Cena and Bray Wyatt. I just thought it was too technical for what they were trying to do, and like all of the high spots where Cena was afraid of Bray Wyatt, and those were really, really good, but Bray turns himself into a tarantula and then he does a headlock for 3 minutes. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? And Cena getting the pin, stupid, absolutely dumb. I don't understand that. It doesn't do anything for either one of them. Cena always had his legacy. Why not put Bray Wyatt over? I just didn't get that. Other than another finish, that was the one that I just disagreed with the most. Another thing I was kind of disappointed by was the Shield match, just because it was less than 5 minutes. Like, it was really, really short, and I was hoping that they would have more of an outing against a legend team like Kane and the Outlaws. But other than that, I mean, everything was just top to bottom. Even the title match. I mean, throwing Daniel Bryan in there was the greatest move that they did. And Triple H Bryan was excellent. Bryan, Orton, and Batista was excellent. It was just a really, really good show. The Battle Royal turned into something right at the end there. I mean, the big spot of Cesaro body slamming, big show over the top rope. Kofi's spot was really cool. So, overall, it was just a fantastic fantastic WrestleMania. I mean, one of the best WrestleManias in the last 10 years, hands down. Now let's talk about Taker. I've had 24 hours to think about this. And at first, you know, being a huge Taker fan, I mean, I have a Taker tattoo. Undertaker was the guy when I, first saw him at the Civic Center. You know, he was the guy, and anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Taker fan. And, you know, when he didn't kick out and when it started to sink in that it wasn't a mistake, the first thought that popped into my head is he's retiring. And he's giving the rub over to somebody else. Because he's old school. He's like what Andre did for Hogan. You know, he's like, I'm leaving. He has a history with Brock, and I think a lot of fans think that it's animosity with Brock, and I don't think that's the case. I think maybe at one time it was, but I think they respect each other a lot. And for Taker to lose at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, who is a part-timer now, but is a legit badass, could beat anybody. If you're going to go out, I guess that's the way to go out. And, you know, being a fan of Taker and wanting to see the streak never be broken, I get why he did it. And if he's happy with it, and in his Hall of Fame speech when he talks about it, he can live with himself, then I can live with it too. It sucks, and as an Undertaker fan and a fan of the streak, you know, I'm disappointed, but if it's what he wanted, it's his career, and it's his legacy. No one can ever take away the fact that they got 21 wins at WrestleMania, and no one else can say that. And you know, they were saying all up until the end of that streaks were meant to be broken, and that is true in all sports, including scripted ones. So, you know, having it digest a little bit, Taker losing, it's not the end of the world. It wouldn't have happened if he didn't want it. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. And, you know, I hope that they give him the proper send-off, because the man has put so much into WWE and into that character, and he's made them so much money. He knows what he's doing. And while his shoulder didn't leave the mat for that 3 count, while he didn't kick out, he left his mark. And people are still talking about it today, 24 hours later. So they did their job.
Well, what I enjoyed about the network was I didn't have to call Cox Cable and then having them tell me that I don't have enough fucking credits. So this was a lot easier. Another good benefit was, since I was with pretty much all you guys in someone else's house, I was able to give my network password to my brother, who was able to watch it. So it worked out in that way too. We were able to get more people to watch it because I had a code that I wasn't using, so I gave it out. But production-wise, it looked the same. Everything was similar. I didn't get to watch any of the pre-show, but I heard it was a good idea. And there was a lot of coverage beforehand, so I heard it was a good thing. So yeah, first pay-per-view on the network I enjoyed. As you remember last week, I wasn't going into this show. I was not very excited. It did nothing for me. But last night, leaving, I thought it was a pretty good show. A couple shocking there's some moments in this WrestleMania that we're always going to remember. For me, I'm going to remember Cesaro body slamming the Big Show to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. That's huge, so hopefully they push his career. I'm going to remember Kofi in the Battle Royal jumping over, I can't remember who, I think Cesaro, and landing on his feet on the ring steps. That was cool. Another good moment for Kofi. So the Battle Royal, which I came into hating, I left enjoying because of the winners. And I would have liked Ziggler, but Cesaro's a good choice. Let's see. The Divas match I liked the result. The in-ring work was what it was. You can't do much with 25 women in the ring. I mean, I could do a lot with 25 women in the ring. Man. But yeah, so AJ winning, that's cool. Shield kicking the crap out of the other 3. That's pretty much what it was. No, I guess they're going to stay together for a while. There was no hint of a breakup at all. Hopefully Roman can be the star, because I love Roman, because you remember that. And Roman broke Billy Gunn, I think. Maybe it was Ambrose. Someone broke Billy Gunn. Hopefully Billy's alright. John Cena winning, I like, because I'm a Cena fan. Makes no sense as a wrestling fan. Why do you not keep pushing Bray Wyatt? As much as I hate that creepy little bastard and his retard crew. You gotta do what you gotta do. Excuse me. But yeah, John Cena had no business winning that. I don't even see where they go with him from here. I don't see where they go with Bray. Maybe they break off the Wyatts versus the Shield again. I don't know where you put Cena. I like Bryan versus Triple H. Surprised it was a clean win. A little annoyed that Stephanie kept flapping her gums throughout the match. I hated the entrance for Triple H. That's just stupid. Your character isn't that Game of Thrones guy anymore. You're the COO. You're the coup. Fucking act like it. The main event wasn't bad. I mean, Daniel Bryan kept appearing out of left field. They were making a big deal playing it off that way. The spot off the table with the Batista bomb RKO was pretty cool. And of course the finish was great. Daniel Bryan winning, the whole crowd going yes, yes, yes. That was a great WrestleMania moment. The thing that I'm disappointed about was Undertaker losing. I'm not mad about him losing. I could care less about that. I'm mad that it was Brock Lesnar that did it and not goddamn Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is a goddamn better wrestler than Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a piece of shit. Anyone who's going to beat the goddamn Undertaker should be Shawn Michaels. That's the goddamn bottom line.
Well, watching it on the network was actually pretty good. I mean, saved a shitload of money, and we didn't have to go to Hooters, which, you know, it'd be a hard time getting a seat, you know, spending all that money for food and beer. So I actually like being at a house better than being surrounded by total strangers and everything. So for that price, it was actually good, and we're gonna save more money on other pay-per-views. The four-way tag match, I thought that should have been in the pay-per-view itself. It pretty much came out the way it was supposed to. Usos winning, and we saw the real Americans separate basically. That wasn't bad. The Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which is basically the Royal Rumble, I thought it was alright, but I'm hoping it's not going to be an every year thing. I am so glad that Big Show did not win it, which everybody thought, because he's a big man, that he was going to win it. It was either going to be him or Sheamus or, you know, one of the other big guys. But I was really happy that Cesaro won. I wasn't thrilled about that. I mean, the Shield I was, but I mean, having the old age outlaws and, you know, tax attorney Kane there, I think it was just a filler. That should have been the pre-show, and they should have had the four-way tag match instead of that.
Okay.
All right, this match, the way it should have gone, is Bray should have won. I'm sick and tired of Cena winning and burying everybody like Triple H does. I'm just sick and tired of it. I mean, you want to really build up on the young talent, let them win. Don't let this fucking piece of shit superhero that kicks out at 2 every time win. And I mean, I'm sick of it. He's got to go. He's got to let the other young talent go and win a couple of matches. I mean, I can't stand the motherfucker. Fuck it. Ole. The women's match, unlike you, Brendan, I mean, it needs to be there, yes. And I'm glad that AJ won. There's no really competition out there for her. Maybe Tamina, but I mean, ever since Caitlyn left, it hasn't been the same. I am excited that Bryan finally won. Well deserved. I'm glad it came out to Bryan beating Triple H and going on to the main event, because if it was just Randy Orton and Batista, it would have been awful. And imagine if Triple H had won, it'd be even worse. It'd be a Evolution Reunion championship, and it's not what the fans want. The fans wanted Bryan, and that's what the fans got. And I'm actually happy about it, because 10 years ago, my other favorite wrestler won, and that was Chris Benoit. And to see that where, you know, the confetti came out, his like, I don't know, his niece and sister came out and he was like hugging and kissing them. Just reminded me of the whole Benoit thing when he won, and you know, but Benoit had his best friend come out and celebrate with him, but supposedly his best friend wasn't there because he punked out. We all know who we're talking about. The Undertaker and Lesnar match. I am not a fan of Taker, but the way that went out, I don't think that should have been the way it was. I mean, I think he should have stayed undefeated. And I really thought the match with him and Punk should have been his last match. But for him to do that, I mean, it's pretty good of him, you know, to let another talent beat him, but it's still kind of weird. He's been 21-0, and then all of a sudden he just loses like that. I mean, it was a shocker. I mean, that's got to be the most shocking thing now of the whole year for wrestling. Overall, WrestleMania is better than 29 and 28 because I hated what 29 and 28 was, and they main evented all about Rock and Cena. I mean, I like Rock, but I'm tired of seeing two guys that, you know, really can't carry each other, especially Cena, in a match. And I'm actually glad that someone that has more talent actually carried the match. And like I said, if it was just Orton and Batista, it would have been terrible. It would have been seeing The Rock and Cena going at it. Part 3. But overall, it was good. For, I mean, $10, it was pretty good.
On the network, it was very, very good, very innovative. I know a lot of people were hesitant. This is the first pay-per-view that they were showing on the network. People were thinking that was on crash, that people weren't going to get to see the whole thing. But from what I saw and what everyone saw apparently, everyone had virtually no issue with it at all, and I think it's going to be a very good thing for future pay-per-views and everything like that. Okay, so overall the pay-per-view, really good WrestleMania. I know a lot of people going in were a little hesitant about overall this pay-per-view, if it was going to be a good WrestleMania or a bad WrestleMania, but overall it definitely had some standout moments. You know, that we kicked it off with Daniel Bryan and Triple H, which was like a really good match. Really had emotion, people really wanted Daniel Bryan to win this. And you could tell Triple H really didn't want Bryan to win this. We had his wife out there screaming at him, you know, and everything. But in the end, Daniel Bryan won, and Triple H couldn't take it. He beats him down, which was awesome storytelling for later on. And so we'll go back to Daniel Bryan in a second. But then the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, kind of a clusterfuck, I will say. But you know, with a few guys that weren't announced, we thought there were gonna be some big names coming back, gonna be announced, but unfortunately they weren't. I don't consider Yoshi Tatsu or David Otunga or Tyson Kidd, big names. Where we also had Cesaro in it, which we were very surprised by. We didn't know he was gonna be in it as well. He just apparently broke up with Jack Swagger during the whole tag match before WrestleMania. And he is very impressive. Now, this is what I'm talking about, moments right here, okay? He picked up Big Show, okay? And I don't think they were going for an Andre the Giant sort of thing like when Hogan picked him up, but he picked him up. He didn't just pick him up. He picked him up and he took a few steps and he threw him over the top rope. And it was just incredible. The whole crowd was going nuts, and this was one of the moments that kicked off tonight. So we go from that. Shield, Outlaws, Kane. Could have been a little bit better. I think they were cutting some time because of their whole Rock, Austin, Hogan thing at the beginning. By the way, that was awesome too. That was a great way to kick off WrestleMania 30. Yeah, could have had a little bit more time, but Shield won. Shield still looking dominant. I don't think they're breaking them up anytime soon because of that. And then let's see here, John Cena, Bray Wyatt. Very good match. I think Bray Wyatt should have won though. I think it kind of hurts his character a bit, but hopefully tonight on Raw or this past Monday on Raw, it will like bounce back from in some way. We just gotta wait and see what happens. But yeah, Cena, I don't feel like should have went over. I mean, he needed back his legacy. Like, I mean, I would consider him losing The Rock a couple years ago was losing his legacy, and then he got that back last year. So in a way, it kind of made sense, but in a way it didn't, because yeah, we had Bray Wyatt trying to take something away from him, but his legacy though, I don't know. But Bray Wyatt was awesome in this match. I think he still has like a future in this in the company, and we'll just see where he goes from here. Now, the thing that's shocked people the most, The Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar. I mean, I'm not really a big Taker fan, as much as other people are, but even I couldn't believe that I witnessed the 21 winning streak basically being over. And especially to like Lesnar. If I had my choice, if he was going to lose it, it would have been Punk last year. But judging how Punk has been this year, maybe it's a good thing that didn't happen. But Lesnar, while people, a lot of people have different opinions on it, I was just stunned. Everybody was stunned. Everyone was in this stunned silence. I don't think anyone really knew about it. I don't think the announcers even knew about it, because they were even like shocked and stunned, and they didn't even know how to react. But I think this is probably the end of Undertaker. Like, unfortunately, he had a great career though. Really can't take that away from him, or anything away from for that matter. And definitely when he's gone, it's definitely WWE's going to definitely feel a lot different. So hopefully with NXT and stuff, they can create more new stars to pick up where Taker left off. Brock Lesnar, as far as I'm concerned, he's still here for the time being. I don't know where he's going after this, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now the Divas Battle Royal or Invitational, whatever it was, it's definitely a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was kind of like a little bit of a clusterfuck too, almost like the Andre Battle Royal, but it feels to have been like a gauntlet style, at least with something of that nature. But AJ once again beats the odds, retains the title, and I don't know who will beat AJ for the title. It definitely has to be someone big. I know there's a couple of girls down in NXT that they'll probably bring up soon that could probably be a contender, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Batista, definitely a good way to end WrestleMania. Everyone was waiting for Daniel Bryan to win the title, and he's finally done it. And I do not think it's going to be a bait and switch this time. I think he's going to have it, and Triple H will probably still find some way to get the title off of him, but I do not think it's going to work. People have been waiting for this, and especially after Taker loss, you needed to end WrestleMania on a good note. Because if you ended WrestleMania with Batista or Randy Orton winning, it would have probably not ended well for anybody. So overall, WrestleMania, awesome. People were expecting this WrestleMania not to be as awesome as it was, but definitely I wouldn't say top 10, but definitely up there like one of the best WrestleManias of all time.
Hello, I am back now, this time with my thoughts on WrestleMania, and first thing I want to get out of the way is this is the first year they are able to stream via the WWE Network for WrestleMania 30. I had a very good experience with the whole network thing. There's really no problems at all, except for a couple of quality audio and some other streaming issues, but it got fixed very easily. We never lost connection, so overall great job there, and I really enjoyed it actually, and I think it's actually a big money saver compared to watching the cable TV like we've been doing for years. So now, to get down to this chase of WrestleMania 30, I had a lot of mixed feelings about this, but I had to give it some thought to really give my opinion about it. So, as far as The Undertaker is concerned, I'm leaving that for last because there's quite a few things I want to say about that. So, First things first, the Usos and the Tag Team Championships. I knew the Usos were going to retain the title, so I'm glad for them, and I knew it was going to come. I'm really glad they finally broke up the Real Americans. It was time. Cesaro needs a push now, which is what they're going to do with him, and now I'm actually glad he's finally away from Swagger because he was just holding him back. Now on to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. This match actually wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. A couple of cool stunts they did was Kofi Kingston landing his feet on the ring steps so it didn't cause him to get eliminated, and Cesaro surprisingly won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal by lifting Big Show over the top rope. That was amazing. I absolutely loved that because not only they were pushing Cesaro, but they're also showing off his strength with other wrestlers, so I'm glad they're really doing that with them. Awesome ending to that, no complaints. Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. I gotta say, like I think everybody else has been saying, what did Cena need the win for? I mean, Bray Wyatt has been pushing his character more and more and more, but Ned, that made him job at WrestleMania, what was that going to do for his character? I really thought they kind of brought his momentum down by having him job out to Cena, and Cena didn't really need the win. The ending was just bad, overall bad. Bray Wyatt could have gotten the win, but for some reason they gave it to Cena for whatever reason. But I like some of the tactics they did with it, which was making Bray creepy a little bit, having Cena get very intense with the guys around him. So in some ways I thought it was good, and the only thing I didn't like about it was Cena's win. But anyway, on to the next thing, the Shield versus Outlaws and Kane. Very short match is my only complaint about it, but I liked how Shield got the W over them, but not sure what this leads to the Shield because there was talk of a breakup, but we'll see where it goes for now. But I really like the fact that they got the win last night over the Attitude Era wrestlers. So let me talk a little bit about the Divas match. Divas match actually wasn't so bad, although like I said, wish it could have been either a Battle Royal or a Gauntlet match, but seeing how they did a lot more time with other matches, it made sense for it to be a one fall match, and I figured as much AJ would get the W somehow, so I'm glad they kept the belt on her. I was hoping to God they would not give it to Eva Marie, so very good choice they kept it on AJ, so I'm curious to know where this is going to go next. So, on to Bryan and the Triple Threat and Triple H. I'm glad Bryan beat Triple H, and I'm glad he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That was phenomenal. Great way to end WrestleMania 30. He finally deserved the title win, and despite how much build-up it took for him to win the match, but overall, I'm really glad that they finally gave it to him on this pay-per-view because he was well-deserved of it. I liked how Triple H got involved with the end of it towards it. I wanted to get knocked out, and Stephanie got a little annoying in the singles match between them two, but the fact that Bryan got the win in both matches, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now on to a very interesting subject, The Undertaker. Now, I took a little while to really think about this. I'm not as mad about it now as I was earlier, but after talking with some friends and everything, I originally thought that there was a botch going on when he got the 3 count. I was saying to myself, what the hell just happened? I mean, is it real that he really got his first loss at WrestleMania? When the graphic was shown out there for 21-1, I was like, no effing way. When the crowd got saw and everybody else got saw, nobody said a word for minutes. It was like the biggest shocker out there. But at the same token, after thinking about it, when Taker got his loss, I was like, I wonder if this means that he's going to be done for good. But if he is going to be done for good, I really would have thought he would have retired with the undefeated streak. But here's a little story really quickly I want to talk about with The Undertaker. When I first started watching wrestling, Undertaker was actually one of the first people I grew up watching wrestling with. He was awesome on TV, he had an awesome gimmick, he had amazing wrestling skills. I loved watching him every week on Monday Night Raw. He was the guy who I really grown on to. Wouldn't say my all-time favorite wrestler, but one of the guys I really enjoyed watching a lot. Very entertaining, no problem with him at all. He was absolutely phenomenal. To tell you the truth, he really gave in a lot to WWE, did everything in the book he could possibly do with this character, and what made the character interesting is he made it what he wanted, not what Vince McMahon wanted, and that's how it became so successful, which is why my friend Chris was talking about him the way that he did earlier. And one thing I wanted to point out that I wasn't thrilled with the fact that why did it have to be Brock Lesnar to end the streak? Yes, he may have a fighting background where he can beat the living crap out of anybody, beating out the last 21 wrestlers that didn't beat Undertaker, but why was it Brock Lesnar that had to do the job done? I mean, would have been nice if a younger talent who had years to come in WWE to prove himself, but to give it to Lesnar, I wasn't thrilled with that. I wasn't thrilled with how the way the match ended. I felt it could have been a little bit better, although I did notice that The Undertaker seemed like he was struggling a little bit in the match. It didn't seem like it was him though, which it seemed very sad though, which as I was watching The Undertaker progress in the ring, looked like he was getting slower, getting some fatigue and hurting a little bit, and when I was looking at it, I was like, something isn't right. I can tell something isn't looking very good. The fact that he only got one tombstone in, I don't know if I can agree with that. I don't really care for that. I really thought he could have gotten another tombstone before he finished off the match, but apparently reports are going around he got a concussion, he got apparently a neck injury, and sad to see how the way this went out following his loss and everything. And to tell you the truth, I was almost very badly in tears after the whole match, the way it went down. And after that match went down there, it was very hard for me to get myself back into the whole pay-per-view. I mean, Bryan kind of brought the momentum back for me, but not to the full extent where I could really enjoy the pay-per-view as a whole. But overall, I would just say the pay-per-view, I don't want to say it was terribly bad. I mean, in some ways it was good, but I really felt if Undertaker won the match, I would have liked it a lot more. But the part that surprised me the most is that this was his decision to end the streak, and I was rather surprised that he didn't want to go out keeping the undefeated streak. But like people have said before, it's wrestling. But Undertaker, I want to say thanks for everything you've done, and you've been an incredible wrestler to watch. So that's all I gotta say for my thoughts.